Dopamine swipe, dopamine swipe. Followers, likes, double tap. Now they control your life.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 817 podcast. I am Jimmy here with my co-host EJ, and we are excited to dive into everything that has happened in Fort Worth and Tarrant County over the past week.
Yes, and look, I can tell Jimmy's all ready for the World Cup. He's here with his Manchester City jersey. I don't know what team, if I said it right, but I can see you're ready for the World Cup.
You did. Yeah, we crushed United in the Manchester Derby today.
Hey, look at that. Look at that.
It's a big one.
And you know who else crushed? TCU whipped up on my Oklahoma Sooners, like just gave us a whipping.
Yeah, it's I feel like it's one of those things for TCU fans where we all knew that Gary Patterson had become the issue, but now that you like actually see it playing out and you're like, oh, yeah, these teams were really talented the last few years. They just had somebody holding them back. It's a weird reckoning, you know?
Yeah, man, you guys put it on us. Man, it was bad. And then y'all's tweet game about
God.
y'all were just roasting the SEC tweet to
Aaron Judge
tweet. I was like, come on, guys. I didn't know how I feel about y'all rushing the stadium. We were 18.
Are you a cop?
No.
You trying to be a narc? Yeah. I feel like there's so much gatekeeping over storming the field every time, no matter who it is. It's like, oh, you shouldn't storm the field. Like, who cares? You know, in like 2 months, who's gonna care that they storm the field?
Cool, you're right. You're like, have fun, right? Get on your TikTok and get excited. And show your people. You pay a lot of money and go into debt for it. Might as well jump on the field.
That's right.
You pay a lot of money to do it. So.
You only get to do that. You only have a 4-year window where you get to do that, and a limited number of times where it's cool for you to be the one storming. So have at it.
Is that true though? Do like some
just keep your clothes on?
Yeah. Does some of the alumni actually like is there ever old people in the field also trying to jump around and run?
I don't know. I mean, it would definitely be tough if the wall to get down there is larger, I believe, in the non-student section. So it's already quite the leap down. Like, it doesn't look that big, but I've seen a number of people hurt themselves jumping onto the field at the end of a TCU game. So I can only imagine in my state now what I would do to myself if I tried it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What we decided to do on this episode is we're going to start just kind of starting the pod with updates. Things we talked about that we really don't need to dive a lot into, but we need an update on. So now be prepared if you're a regular listener who's listened every week, and shout out, I've seen some of you recently, you know, I've seen like we've actually got to see you guys at different places. So really cool. But we're just going to do updates and then dive into short stories, then the big story, and then wins and losses. So the first update is David Cook, city manager. He defended himself, Jimmy. He said, hey, I'm not going to let the people of Fort Worth dictate who my friends are. How do we feel about this? And then city council kind of stayed hush-hush about it. You saw some people stand up for him. Some people didn't respond. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just like, just take responsibility for your actions. You know, like all you have to say is potentially there was a lapse in judgment here. I want to make sure that my office will do everything that it can to make sure that we are being fair when it comes to our decision making. You know, like, just take a little bit of responsibility. You don't have to get defensive of the, you can't tell me who my friends are.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it shows a lack of leadership.
Yeah. And to me, there's like legally, yes, we can, right? There's like you should not be doing bribes and getting gifts, and you shouldn't.
Yeah, legally we literally do tell who your friends can be.
So then it's just like, okay, how far does this, opinion go, Mr. Cook? Okay, we can't tell you who your friends are. Okay, are you now going to say you can't tell me who I can have romantic relationships with, and now you can have romantic relationships with people under you? Like, when does this whole, like, you are now the powerhouse of your relationship? There's just some etiquette and some things as someone who's in some really serious power, and one gets paid a lot of money to have that power, comes responsibility. And so you can't just be act like a normal Joe Fort Worthian saying, I'm not going to let anybody tell me who my friends are, because you actually hold a high guard. And if you don't like that people think it's not a good thing, then you probably shouldn't be city manager. Then you can sip pina coladas with the bastards all you want. There you go. What you want more, your friend group or your power? Which one do you want?
He gets the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
Maybe Fernando Costa, assistant city manager, on a good day, he might get it too. But
yeah.
really, it's just David.
Yeah. And so we'll see what kind of comes from it. So let's go to the next update. The next update is Judge Whitley. That was a really cool update. Democrat Lieutenant Governor kind of talks to Republicans locally at the Fort Worth Club. Reporters were not allowed. The guest list was secretive, so there wasn't any so real Republicans actually showed up, and they weren't going to be attacked by the GOP of Tarrant County. So I thought this was a cool update, and learning about Collier, he was a Republican, worked for oil and gas, businessman, then converted to Democrat. There's just some things that I think they needed to learn. He was an accountant, so that maybe have also helped them see that he's fiscally conservative, kind of, at least in his profession. What was your kind of takes? What was the big aha for you in this story?
I think it was, we were waiting to see who was going to be at this event, right? Like last time we talked about it, we were like, okay, who is showing up to this thing? Who is this for? So I think it's really interesting that Whitley is using his position in a power play to swing realistically other people of power in the Tarrant GOP to say, hey, this is the right guy for what we need. I appreciate that he kept it a little bit secretive so that people might feel more comfortable showing up. So overall, I'm fairly surprised. Like I said, I was fairly surprised that he was even going to host this event, to take this next step from just endorsing him. But now even more surprised that it was explicitly trying to get Tarrant Republicans to follow his suit.
Yeah, this is probably a bright spot in Texas politics. If more of life was like this, especially for purple cities like Fort Worth, where two senior level people can come together and have different views and just talk about life and talk about the difference. Texas definitely needs to continue to be, I'm voting on the individual rather than the candidate. I mean, especially in purple places like Fort Worth. So I thought that was all cool. And it said that there was Democrats and in the room as well. So all in all, it seems like a really bright spot for the county.
Yeah, what's next?
The next one is the debate. Did you watch the debate at all?
I didn't. I was on our flight home from Montreal. So I tried to get some tweet updates, but even that I felt was pretty limited. Abbott obviously did not want people to be in the room. No major networks picked it up.
On a Friday
night.
Yeah.
He was trying to hide this as much as possible.
Yeah.
And fairly successfully. There really wasn't a ton, only an hour long. There's really not a lot that can happen there. I do appreciate, Beto came back afterwards to the panel of moderators and, finished answering any questions they had. I appreciated that. Overall, is this going to, move the needle for anybody? Probably not. If you're tuned in enough to actually know the debate was happening and pick up on anything that was said, you're probably in a fairly decided place at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it did any. I watched it, and I don't think it did anything for anyone. Beto was. This to me showed how great Cruz is as a debater. After seeing now Beto versus Governor Abbott, I think Beto improved, but also it just made me, man, that one and when Cruz and Cruz, I just feel like I don't know, really worked him.
Yeah.
Just the Texas lingo and how he knows how to focus on Texas pain points. But I thought Beto did a great job there. I mean, this goes to some data that I think is important. You know, I think like why Glenn Whitley in the earlier update in the Collier story is we're just so we're so single party today. Like we're just so like hyperbolic, you know, we're just like our one side and that's who we are. And I think that's where like what makes debates kind of hard. Like no one is willing to like listen to other sides. And so here's a crazy stat that I told you about probably a month ago, but I think it reminded me once listening to the debate. 37 of the 50 states in America. All right. This is in The Economist in September 3rd. Where 3/4 of Americans live. So 75% of Americans live in 37 of these 50 states, which are ruled by a single party. The number where one side controls both legislative chambers and the governor's mansion has nearly doubled in the past 30 years. And that to me is like the issue is like these, like it doubled and that's in 30 years. And so like 30 years ago, we were more open to hearing what people had to say. And 30 years sounds like a long time ago. We're talking about the 90s, right? Like, so it's like, this is not that long ago. And so I just think that that's an example of why like debates don't maybe push that much no more, because we're already so one-sided in the states that we're in the counties that we're in, where 37 of the 50 states have a single party in those 3 seats is just showing you like the issues and why debates don't work today.
Mm-hmm.
You ready to dive into our short stories? I got the first one as the World Cup, my guys. This is your story. Run with it, baby.
Yeah, let's do it. Now, we'll start by saying that this is well-educated conjecture. This is not confirmed, but if the report holds true, the World Cup final in 2026 is coming to Arlington. I mean, this is a mind-blowing, mind-boggling potential event for the Metroplex. Like I said, the announcement is not official, but reading between the tweets, it sounds as if the biggest sporting event in the world is headed to Cowboy Stadium. According to ESPN soccer/football analyst /US World Cup legend Hercules Gomez, the 2026 World Cup final will be played at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. I mean, if this is true, this is hundreds of thousands of people coming to DFW for at least a few days from around the globe. Like, this is as big as global of an event that you could possibly have. And I assumed it would be in LA. Like, that should, the LA Coliseum, I just figured that it would be in LA. Maybe SoFi Stadium. I kind of had it on the radar that maybe DFW would host some of the knockout stage round, like maybe a quarterfinal, maybe even a semifinal. But to have the eyes of the entire globe, like we're talking hundreds of millions of people worldwide watching this event, mind-boggling.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking like multiple Super Bowls.
Yeah. We're talking like 10 Super Bowls.
Yeah, like just coming at us. And are we ready? Like infrastructure wise, we talk about this.
Oh,
like,
no.
Yeah, right.
Not at all. So like, think about Arlington. Arlington is the largest city in the United States without any form of public transit. We have people coming from around the globe that are used to walking everywhere, used to using public transit to get everywhere, coming into DFW airport and then going, what the F do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, how do I get there? Like, maybe you take the train one way to either Fort Worth or to Dallas or even Grapevine, and then you're like, wait, how do I get to the stadium now? Do I walk 10 miles? Do I walk 20 miles? Some major changes will have to happen to make us infrastructure ready. But maybe this is the thing that we need to happen to get that infrastructure to change here. Like, maybe this is the straw that breaks the camel's back that finally says, hey, you guys have to develop your light rail and your bus systems better and faster. You have to make these investments now so that you're ready for this event.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it would be so sad, these soccer fans having to sit in Texas live for 4 days,
Yeah.
eating burgers and French fries over and over again. It'd be awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're so spread out. I mean, that area is just so difficult. To me, it is like probably like just the worst part of the Metroplex. Like, it's just like this big, it kind of reminds me of Idiocracy, like that energy, like the Gatorade, like the whole like movie setup. It's like, if Idiocracy is like, that is like, Arlington is like Texas's, the things we're obese on.
It's
football.
Like, of every stadium, sporting venue that I've been to, it is the worst experience. And it's not really even that close. Even
Tomball's pretty bad though too.
Okay, yeah. Like, we'll name all of the ones in North Texas as like the bottom by a lot.
Yeah.
You can definitely add FC Dallas's stadium to that as well.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is the thing that says, hey, what do you have your American Rescue Plan Act dollars earmarked for now? Out the window. We're building light rail that covers the entire Metroplex. We're building this high-speed rail that gets us all around, because it is going to take a massive undertaking to make this successful. But it would also be the most exciting thing to happen to North Texas, maybe in the history of its existence.
Yeah, it would be so awesome. I might just take off of work the whole time.
I think it would be near impossible to like continue work as normal for the week leading up to it and the few days after.
Yeah.
It would be incredible. I mean, tickets will be insanely expensive. Like, if you want to go, start saving now. And like, I don't know, take a second mortgage out on your house or something. But just to be in the atmosphere, like, I bet they would probably figure out how to play it on like the Jumbotron in the stadium across the street in the Rangers ballpark. Like, I feel like everywhere around there will just be somewhere that you are dying to be. Yeah.
Really, really exciting stuff. And like you said, could be, I mean, one of the most historical things to really put DFW on the map.
Yeah, especially we're coming out 2022. The World Cup coming up is in Qatar. Going to be one of the least accessible World Cups that we've ever had.
Yeah.
And so rebounding with the U.S. and DFW, wild.
Yeah. Well, let's keep going. We got the next short story is the flooding story. This was a story in the Star Telegram. It took a big section of the paper, I believe, on Friday. I know you also have the map here. The map shows 300 areas at risk of dangerous flash flooding in Fort Worth. Really, what is the part here that really hit home for you, Jimmy? I know you selected this story as the one we should probably discuss with everyone.
Yeah, we obviously had some crazy rain last month or end of August, and we saw how quickly our entire area floods. And so being able to equip homeowners or potential homeowners or renters with the knowledge of, am I moving into a floodplain? What do I need to be thinking about by purchasing this house, by moving into this apartment? Will I be in a place where if something happens, I can leave, or is my car going to get flooded in? I think the city taking on empowering people with more knowledge to make better decisions for themselves is always going to be a positive. And so I love that they are putting this map together. I love that. Yeah,
about 40% of the property in the city faces some kind of flood risk. So you even talk about, I mean, this should be a city priority issue.
Right.
We just passed the city budget. I don't know how much has been proactively discussed about how to support people where 40% of the city is in flood zones. I recently got mail. I'm getting mail about how I'm in this flood zone. So now I don't know if now there's people trying to take advantage of this situation and monetize off of it. I don't know what's going on, but what's your take on how are we budgeting and how is Fort Worth prioritizing this discussion? Or do you feel like this is the start? Like now that we put it out there as a discussion, do you think like now the movement starts happening?
I think at least now consumers have the ability to press the mayor and their city council members on this being a priority. So in 2020, the city estimated it would cost $1 billion to fix all of the spots at risk of dangerous flash flooding. Fort Worth has devoted so far about $24 million from a $70 million bond to address city streets where flash flooding creates dangerous conditions for drivers. You're telling me that we have committed $25 million towards a $1 billion problem, yet continue to pass increases in funding for police in the name of city safety or public safety when you're just ignoring the actual issue in front of us.
Yeah.
That's absurd. Like we're at 25 out of a billion, 1/4 times 1/40th. We've committed 1/40th of what we need to fix this problem. And that's only going to get more expensive and it's only going to get worse. So I would hope that potentially this knowledge being out there to people helps people feel empowered to push for better prioritization of something like this.
City Council approved the increased budget on Tuesday. This city is having a 2-cent decrease in property tax, but the average homeowner will pay 10% more in property taxes. Money is going to more police, 62 new police officers, 30 civilian employees in the department. By the way, did you see the tweet that I saw it because the mayor retweeted it, the police recruitment video?
Oh, you sent it to me.
Yeah. I mean,
well, howdy, folks. Officer Big B here. Are you looking for a new job? Are you ready to try something new that'll make a difference at doing something really great? Well, come join us here at the Fort Worth Police Department. We're hiring and we got it all. We got your patrol vehicles, we got your Explorers, we got your Tahoes, and we even got your F-150 responders. Say what? Now, currently, you may not have squat, but come join us here at the Fort Worth Police Department because we've got SWAT. Yes, sir. We've got your armored vehicles. We've got your Bearcats. While these big machines here takes a licking, keeps on ticking.
that's the example. Like, oh gosh, one, sure, have fun. Like, this guy seems like a really nice guy who did it, and it seemed like a great team camaraderie, like, video. Like, I'm not here to knock the cops and the singular people, but I'm just kind of talking about this is the problem, right? We got so much money that, hey, let's show you all the toys you get to play with if you become a cop. We got banshees, we got tanks, we got whatever, right? We got all these things that you can play with. And it just is the reason why the wrong people get into being police officers, because they watch Fast and the Furious, they watch all these crazy cool movies, and now you're showing them that they could live that cool adrenaline life in these cool vehicles, and then they just sit there on the traffic light just, giving people tickets, and then finally some crazy stuff does pop off, and then they are irresponsible because they think it needs to be some big gun show or thrive because that's, the propaganda that we keep pushing to these people. It's the same thing we do in military commercials and all that jazz. So anyways, we're hiring 60 new police officers and promoting and getting people excited about being cops. And then David Cook also increased environmental fee on monthly water bills. They basically prioritize public safety, growth, and cleanliness. $3.8 million for transportation. That's gonna get you to the World Cup. The city is also adding 57 positions. Its development service department, which will will improve the department's ability to process building permits and get new housing and commercial projects. But anyways, I know this wasn't about the city budget but it plays a part to this story of flooding and us not prioritizing it. And now, hopefully, citizens who are purchasing homes are reading this information and being able to identify. I'm for sure in a flood zone. I mean, I'm on like 2 hills.
Yeah, I'm on the top of a hill, so I feel like I'm good. But like our yard also fills up with water.
Interesting.
Our front yard does.
Interesting.
But we're at the top of a hill, so you'd think we'd be cool. So I don't know.
Yeah. But let's go into the third story. This is talking about Arlington. Arlington does not have public trans, but what they do have is Wi-Fi.
That's right.
For you to sit at home.
Last September 21, Arlington launched a 5-year pilot free Wi-Fi and smart lighting program in part of East Arlington. Since that launch, nearly 30,000 users are consistently using the Wi-Fi program, and they're looking to expand it. The service is supported entirely with federal CARES Act funding and covers an area where around 18% of the homes do not have steady internet access, and around 30% of residents are enrolled in schools. So their goal next is to continue expanding this to try and provide more equitable access to Wi-Fi connection and broadband throughout the city. The city is also working with the company Sci-Fi Networks on construction of a citywide broadband network. The company will install 10 million linear feet of fiber through the city streets and contract with internet street service providers to provide more internet choices to residents and businesses. This is really cool, really great use of CARES Act funding. I know Fort Worth has done a little bit of this also, but I'm really excited to see that Arlington, their city council and mayor, is saying this is a good program for us. We need to expand it. This is also something I find consistently when we travel, is that outside of the U.S., like having public Wi-Fi in the city is a very common thing. And so this is a big point that Biden was hitting on with the American Rescue Plan, is making sure that broadband access was expanded. And I love to see that Arlington is doing it well. And I would love to see Fort Worth adopt and expand on a similar thing.
Yeah. But 10 megabits per second is not that.
No,
good.
It's not much.
I mean,
it's really not much.
Yeah, that's you can't do much with that.
But it at least gives access to a Google search, to look up directions to somewhere, to look at the menu of the, new restaurant that you were thinking about trying. Any sort of connectivity, I think, helps people, and clearly people are using it.
Yeah.
So I think for people who know what more than 10 megabits looks like, it feels like nothing. But if we think 10, 15 years ago, like what we could do on our phones now versus then, like we were really impressed with what our phones could do 10, 15 years ago. Yeah.
And 10 can help you get, at least like you said, get your Google Maps going, get your, if you're lost, or it can get some other stuff set up. Like, you want to get that set up. I mean, you can get a lot of music, Spotify downloads. Yeah. Book downloads should be okay. But yeah, cool story. And like you said, it'd be cool for Fort Worth to do the same. But yeah, so those are our short stories. We're going to dive into the big story. I'm actually really excited for this big story. I feel like we have a lot of juicy takes for it. It's about Mayor Mattie Parker's first State of the City address. She addressed a ton of things, from economics to education to safety. She said a lot of hot takes, a lot of perspectives. And so for this big story, we are just going to go through her takes, what she accomplished, what are some things that, are still vulnerabilities that we need to discuss. And all in all, we're reading it off the Fort Worth Report. We thought that was the most clearest and kind of detailed story about this. Where do you want to start, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think we'll just go through as the Fort Worth Report article is laid out. First, I want to say this event is held by the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce. If you're just an average person wanting to get in, tickets are $110. In my opinion, this should be an accessible thing. you can tell that the goal is kind of for it not to be an accessible thing to
Or at
just
least broadcast
anybody.
live.
Yeah, at least broadcast live.
And I don't know if it was.
I don't think it was
I don't
because
think 'cause I
I
couldn't
was
find
just
it.
following tweets as I could find it. I would love in the future for these to become something that is more accessible than what the Chamber of Commerce has made it. But I guess that's also what you get when it's sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce and not the city. Anyways, we start by Mayor Parker talking about the city's leadership, recognizing the importance of addressing challenges in K through 12 schools. How you're just now recognizing that, I don't know. But, she said, Fort Worth ISD hiring a new superintendent offers a potential inflection point for education in the city. Emphasized that only half the students living in Fort Worth attend Fort Worth ISD. She wants to make sure you're getting a high quality education regardless of where your kids are going to school. What's your take on her little education spiel here?
I think when we first talked about when we first started the pod and we were highlighting the mayoral candidates, we said that Mattie Parker would be the best for entrepreneurship and economic development. But with her education background and her nonprofit, we also felt like this is a spot where she would be strong. I still think this education piece is too early. We had the pandemic. We have Scribner leaving. And I think it's really hard for me to answer how I feel about how she does with education. What I would say that teenagers who are in juvenile court are also kids who we educate. And so if anything, I feel like where she has failed in supporting young adults is keeping Alex Kim accountable and that group accountable of how we handle kids in prison. Because those are also kids that we should care about. And I know that may be alternative education or that's a different type of, it's not in this bucket. But that to me is probably where I'm most apart. I think the other big thing that we have to hit is something that's just not, of course we need businesses to promote education so that people can get credentials so they can take jobs that they have provided for them to live. But it's also, to me, the biggest problem with education always goes with the lack of economic connectedness. The fact that rich people go away and go to schools together. And so all the rich people go to school together and then they all get good grades and say their school is better than the poor school, when really all the high supported kids and high resource kids go to one school. And then the other kids who don't have all those resources go to bad schools. And then you yell and tell these schools that they're bad and not good, when really it's all human behavior. And so to me, I don't know how we'll ever get to that conversation. That to me is one of the biggest errors of human sociology that I just think is the real issue. And so I'm just not sure what the mayor or anyone in the chamber or sitting in $100 seats can do when their kids most likely aren't the ones going to Fort Worth ISD.
Yeah, if they haven't chosen to do it already.
Yeah. So what is your take?
I just feel this felt like listening to Betsy Price speak. Like Betsy always talked about how she was so for education and everything, and yet we're 10 years removed from her starting in office, and Fort Worth ISD is not much improved from when she took over. And it's just an easy thing for a mayor to talk about when they don't really have any influence over it. And so they don't have to take responsibility for if something's going wrong, but you can always just pull out the, I want your kids to do well. And people are going to be like, yeah, I want my kids to do well too. And so I thought it was a funny thing for her to start with, but also it's insignificant in the scope of her role. And so is she ever going to take much action on it? Probably not, because it's not really her job to do so. But we kind of continue to give the mayor a pass whenever they talk about education. it just seems kind of weird that it continues to be something that they highlight when they don't do anything about it.
Yeah, yeah. So the next part of the highlights were around economic. So again, I think her background of being someone who's trying to assemble the economic pipeline between Fort Worth education and kids and business, I think there's been a lot of movement in building those structures and attempting to build those structures. But again, I think going back to what we talked about earlier, it's really a behavioral thing that takes a human collective and us sacrificing our own wants of sending our kids to private schools or sending our kids to affluent areas or living in affluent areas and not connecting to just average people in Fort Worth and being okay that our kids go to a school with an average building and and those kind of things. So, but this economic piece, she has that really building up. I mean, this is the part, like, I know I don't know what grade you would give her, but to me overall, I give Mattie a B plus. Why do I give her that high of a score? It's because of the things that I care about. She's doing a good job, which is like economic development, Techstars Investment Accelerator. We talked about the lack of entrepreneurship here, the expansion of Texas A&M Law School in downtown, the Texas Aggie North concept is a big deal. All that's super powerful and super, I think, could be something that is going to really change the game for us. So what is your takes on the economic piece?
I thought it was funny that, like, later in her speech, she calls out Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi as being disconnected from reality. After she highlights that we are receiving $400 million for Panther Island funding, finally. But who passed that? Like, maybe you're the one a little bit disconnected from reality, that you're highlighting that the people that are actively giving you the resources you need and telling them that they're doing a bad job.
So context here for those who maybe didn't read it or were there, like the host or the MC asked Mattie about what does she feel about her age and the impact that has on her as a mayor. And she said, honestly, I think younger, or like, it doesn't really matter locally. The real issue is how federally these people are old and disconnected, like Biden and Nancy Pelosi, right? She didn't say Betsy Price and Kay Granger, who Kay Granger tried to stop the vote to allow us to continue to operate as a government in a country, and had no reason to it besides just saying no. That was the answer when they were asked, why did you not vote for it? So again, like you're saying though, how are you going to tout the $400 million for Panther Island, and yet your Democrats that you say are disconnected are the ones who are connecting your project to the city? Yeah.
Overall, like, I agree with you, though, about major economic things. There's been a lot of big announcements, and, Techstars is the thing that has obviously hit the ground running fastest. The others are, long-term projects. But I think we are seeing the investment in entrepreneurship in the city that she promised when she was running for mayor. So I think that is a really big win.
What grade would you give Mattie Parker?
Overall?
Yeah.
I think probably like a C plus.
Yeah.
Like I would give her like the A in the economic.
Yeah.
But on her report card, when it comes to like equity, like, that's more down.
Yeah.
When it comes to actually like speaking out and supporting people when we have issues like Alex Kim or things going on at FMC Carswell, like F.
Yeah.
Like you just haven't.
Yeah. And that's interesting, because that's why I think I gave her a B-ish, is because of the Texas Tribune interview, like, in her kind of starting to say, hey, I don't align with today's GOP Republican Party, because I felt like there was some there. And that's where I was like, okay, she could have not had a backbone, and she could have said, oh, I got to go all in over here if I'm going to get reelected again. And so I don't know. I think I agree with you. Those are, to me, her like blind spots. But we talked about that when we had Ann Zeta, Deborah Peoples, and we were ranking like what would be their benefits. Like, we said this would be like where she would miss. Yeah, so I think I like the C plus, and that goes to me the other part down here, where she talked about, it was at the very end. I think it was even in the Star Telegram they highlighted it even more, where she was talking about we attack problems, not people. That to me is like what you're saying is technically not true.
Yeah,
we hide problems and protect people, right? We protect David Cook, we protect Carrie Moon, right? We protect Alex Kim. We allow Wayburn to walk with Tim O'Hare on the bridge and then fund these people to be radical rights. Like we don't attack problems. The Carswell, we're not attacking it. We're not attacking the juvenile situation. We didn't attack when people were dying in jails under Wayborn watch. So like, I think
if some of that stuff is like county-wide, like you're willing to speak out on education that you don't really have influence on, but you're not willing to make a statement that says what's happening in FMC Carswell is wrong. Like, I'm not even saying that you have to put all of your like energy towards doing something, but you can at least say like, hey, what's happening here is wrong and we need to figure out how to fix it. I support, Mark Vesey in submitting this to the Justice Department and trying to get answers. Because again, like, yes, technically it is outside of maybe the scope of what you're doing, but it is just as much so that as education, which you continue to talk about and do the same amount on as these other things.
Yeah, exactly. Tatiana Jefferson, well, I don't know what her score is on that one. I mean, because that's kind of out of her control as well. Kind of. I mean, but so all in all, I think that's the equity piece, the foundational piece around there is really her miss spot. But that's why I think, man, if Deborah Peoples could have and some could win the county commissioner seat, now you have that tag team. Because I just wonder what that relationship, because it seems like Whitley and Parker would be like perfect today, because they're kind of hey, we got to calm these crazies down in our party. But now, if she's being attacked by O'Hare, where Deborah could make it look like, hey, now I'm supporting our county commissioner's decisions around these issues. Like, it wouldn't look as like, oh, this is a Mattie thing. Now everyone would be mad at Deborah. Yeah. Man, it'd be so good of a combo. But I don't also know what the respect they have for each other as well as they ran for mayor. So, well, let's keep going.
Yeah, next. So last week when Mayor Parker was at Trib Fest doing her Wowtown panel, she teased that there was a big announcement coming about Fort Worth Film. And I texted a couple friends as soon as that announcement was made, and I said, there's 100% chance that this is just another thing having to do with Taylor Sheridan, which it is. So she announced that Taylor Sheridan is bringing another new series to Fort Worth focused on Bass Reeves, the first black deputy marshal west of the Mississippi River. Filming will take place in Fort Worth. Taylor Sheridan behind 1883 and Yellowstone, Sicario, really, really talented filmmaker. Really cool thing that Fort Worth continues to have this be part of the city, but also just kind of throws into that loop that we're a one-trick pony in a lot of ways. Yeah. And, like, it's great that, like, we've got Taylor Sheridan right now to help us down that one-trick pony way. And it's really cool that there's a show highlighting a black deputy marshal. But it's also kind of funny that when we talk about like big film announcements, it's kind of just like a repeat of what we've already done.
Yeah. No, and that even goes to like my last kind of take on it was the mayor is very clear that there is, she even said, we can be Cowtown and we can be Funky Town. She then goes in and says, we can be pro-cops and pro-community in her like approach. And then she also kind of said the whole, she just keeps talking like about these divides. And And to me, this goes like what you said, the one trick pony, something about the Westerns and some cowboys and that whole Cowtown propaganda. I think that I was thinking about this. If a Democratic person ran for mayor against Mattie Parker, who would it be enough for me to be like, nah, I'm not going to give her another shot? Like, they would have to me, get me excited and would have to get people excited around accepting that Fort Worth is a purple city. And I'm going to make sure that we're equitably spending money to represent the purple city of Fort Worth. Because when you look how much money Cowtown gets compared to Funky Town and the propaganda, it's a lot.
Yeah.
When you look how much cops get to community gets, it's a lot.
Which it's wild even too that's the line. We can be both pro-police and pro-community.
Yeah.
Like, we already are admitting that the police are not pro-community. And then what are they? Like, just the fact that is the line that you're continuing to hammer on and repeat in this question and answer section. Like, you're admitting that, like, cops don't serve the purpose that they're supposed to right now. And, like, we're continuing to fund things over things that would actually help the community.
Yeah, if you're going to attack the problem and not people, attack the problem of your police group attached to the right-wing GOP. Like, that's a massive problem, especially if they represent a purple city. And that is just like, yeah, that's scary. And so, but that's the thing though. You're right. Like, but like those, like, she talks about the divide and like, hey, we can play nicely and be both. But I think we have to, like, okay, if you're saying we're Cowtown and Funky Town, how much of our money goes to the Cowtown propaganda and how much money goes to Funky Town? It's not even close. What, $9 out of every $10, $9 to Cowtown, right? Pro cops community. What's that? 7 to 10 out of the $10. So it's just like, if you're going to say, hey, we have two sides and my responsibility is make sure both sides have a voice and are equitably supported, I could ride with this. But I think we're just say it to keep the Funky Town people not upset. And we know what we're really talking about. We're talking about, white, cowboy, conservative, oil-backed police Cowtown, and then Funky Town is like the diversity, the difference, the eclecticness, the hidden parts, the urbanization parts of the city that's kind of like here but doesn't get the love or the support from the big money people who live in Cowtown. So yeah, it's just like weird to bring up the divide so clearly and not making it a mission to intertwine it. Yeah,
I 100% agree with that. So moving on to some else of what she said. We highlighted maybe last week or 2 weeks ago that development services is getting a facelift, adding 40 additional staff members to help with the city permitting process. That's definitely a win, something we were both excited about with the budget. And next, the city will invest $3.5 billion into transportation projects from 2018 to 2026, Parker highlighted. The bulk of those projects are focused on road-centric transit, but Parker also addressed public transportation. I know we've struggled with this, but world-class cities also have world-class public transportation. Then why are we just investing in road-centric transit? It's just another one of those things where, like the divide, which side is, you can say that, but which side is getting the funding? 9 out of $10 are going to roads, and 1 out of 10 are going to, we don't even really get to see it in the public transit realm.
Yeah.
So I did think that was interesting that she would highlight that at all. And obviously going back to the World Cup final conversation, if that's happening, those numbers have to change drastically very fast. Our window for that will close incredibly quickly.
3 years is nothing.
Yeah.
Even if you told me the money's here tomorrow, we still ain't getting it done.
Yeah.
It's 2 around the corner. It would be bogus for the World Cup to be in Arlington. It would.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be cool for us.
Yeah.
I'd feel bad for everybody else.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel bad for everyone else.
In July, making everybody come to Texas in July, and there's no way to get around because you're going to die if you walk.
Yeah.
And there's no bus coming to pick you up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That just sounds painful already. And I always actually hate, like, Dallas Fort Worth is a very hard area to show people a good time. Like me and you were talking about, you're just in Montreal, and you said it's one of my 3 top cities in the, what you say, North America. Yeah. And like I've traveled to, and you said like San Francisco, Chicago were your other ones. And a lot of that is because as a traveler, it's easy to get around. Like if I have friends who've never been to Dallas Fort Worth, and I got to say, like, how do I show them a good time? It takes a journey. Like I got to go to, sure, we're going to go to the stockyards for a night so you can go take a picture as a cowboy. But then I still got to drive all the way to North Park or something if you want to go like super shopping. I don't know. And then like Grapevine if we're going to do that. It's like a lot of commuting and a lot of driving to get to all this stuff because nothing connects and there's no transportation. So I just feel so bad. Like we're one of the worst places to travel to. And now you're going to bring all these people from all around the world, and they got to sit looking at Six Flags and Hurricane Harbor and Texas, and that is their option. Well, I guess Hurricane Harbor is going to be lit because it's July. Yeah. Everybody's going to be in that lazy river.
But how are you going to get there from your hotel?
Yeah.
You got to walk across the highway.
Surely there's bus shuttles to Hurricane Harbor, like from the hotel.
Yeah,
surely,
hotel,
hopefully.
yeah.
Like they have that business set up or something.
Yeah.
But man, that lazy river is going to be popping during the World Cup.
The Montreal Metro runs every 4 minutes. There's a train coming every 4 minutes. Like we missed a couple trains. It's like, I don't care. Like there's another one coming in 4 minutes. Like this is chiller that we get to sit here and wait here for 4 minutes for another one to come. You get anywhere in the city in 20 minutes. It's insane.
That's wild.
So moving on, she brought up people experiencing homelessness and the affordable housing units that the city is funding. The city funded 288 more units of affordable housing using federal funds on September 29th. Another really cool win. And then Parker announced the first recipient of the mayor's Unsung Hero Service Award, which aims to honor Fort Worth residents who are quote-unquote quietly showing leadership. The first award went to Judge Brent Carr of County Criminal Court 9, who is retiring later this year. He's a Marine Corps veteran and has served Tarrant County since 1983, operating the county's mental health diversion program, Veterans Court Diversion Program, and RISE program. That's cool.
Yeah, no, I thought that was cool too. Didn't know about that.
Yeah, me neither. And, then she gets the question about being a millennial mayor, saying national leaders are typically more disconnected from reality. And that was it.
Yeah. All in all, a good first run. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, obviously she's running, and I just don't know. To me, I've enjoyed these 2 years in Fort Worth. I felt I felt the facelift.
Mm-hmm.
I truly have.
Yeah.
Since Betsy to now, I felt the facelift. Right. And so, heck, I was in Lily's last night. I legit felt the facelift. They had a new renovation. I was like, man, look at this. Everybody's upgrading. So, I don't know. I wonder what person would come into the ring to go against Mattie right now.
Yeah.
And what would you challenge against on? To say that she needs to go.
Yeah.
It's just very hard. I don't know what she could do.
Yeah. I mean, the way I'm playing this out in my head is that Tim O'Hare beats Deborah Peoples and, Deborah does the, okay, fine, no one's running, I'm going to run again thing. I hope doesn't happen.
And that got to stop. And this has nothing against Deborah. Deborah, you're ahead of your time. I appreciate you. You did a lot. But it's time for someone to go. But you know what her challenger could be? Her challenger could be the Tim O'Hare right-wing mayor. That's going to be so then it's going to really down Mattie Parker to the docket, and all us Democrats are going to have to vote Mattie Parker because now it's her against the Tim O'Hare militia.
Steve Panate.
Yeah, the Steve Panate or the Manny Ramirez or whatever it's going to be. So like that's probably where her true threat is, Dr. Bird kind of thing. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. But
it gives us more to talk about. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So you want to move the wins and losses?
Yeah, I'll start with my loss, and this is a loss/update. The early voting locations have changed, so make sure that you go and look up and double check before you try to go early vote starting October 26th. That your voting location is still there, or the one you like to go to is still there. 76103, our zip code doesn't have one. We usually go to the historic Southside Community Center.
We have too many Beto signs to have one.
Yeah, right. And that one is still there. I feel like that's a major hub one for anybody that lives like East Side and South Side. But just wanted to put out this public service announcement that they have changed voting locations. It's a loss because anything that you do to try and alter how people vote is a deliberately intentional to try and make sure certain people aren't voting. Like they announced in Bexar County that only the Texas A&M on-campus voting location was closing, was not going to happen again, which is the only Democrat voting location in the county.
Wait, Texas A&M?
Texas A&M.
Yeah, they're not in Bear County.
No, they're not in Bexar.
And it's Bear. I lived in San Antonio for 4 years, and I learned that it's Bear. So
okay.
It's Bear County. But yeah, no, I saw that too, though.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's insane.
Yes.
Because that is your population.
Yeah,
the population
exactly.
is the students.
So make sure you go and look up before you go to vote and pull up to somewhere that doesn't actually have a voting location.
Yeah. My loss is here we go. My loss is a big one here. The Texas Tribune recently just posted a post about how Dallas-Fort Worth has the most medical debt per patient when you look at the nation's top 20 most populous counties. So Tarrant County was number 1 and Dallas County was number 2. If you really look at the data here, the way they broke down the data was they looked at all the kind of let me break it here. Hold on. Researchers calculated medical debt in each hospital referral region using 2019 Credit Bureau data maintained by the Urban Institute. They then compared the debt load in each market to the average operating margin for hospitals in the market over 3 years from 2017 to 2019, weighting each hospital's margin by the number of adjusted admissions. The margins data comes from hospitals' cost reports. The hospitals file annually with the Federal Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services. These reports are aggregated by the nonprofit RAND Corps, which supplied the data to KHN and the Urban Institute. So it pulled and it showed how, we're talking 25%, 26% of people's debt for in our county who have debt is medical debt. We're talking... And what we find is that we are at the highest bill. We maximize bills. And I think this is interesting because now you also see like the things that are actually getting funding and buildings are medical buildings in Fort Worth, medical hospitals by TCU. It kind of seems...
it's a profitable place to build medical.
And we have a lot of old people. Yeah. And so, hey, let's not do anything for our young people, but let's, put all of our old people in debt. So yeah, that's my loss.
Feels icky.
Very.
My win, and this is something we haven't talked about for a while.
Before you go to that though, it was something, I love the intro. I was like, where the heck is this intro of the story going? But I didn't know this. I've never been to Prosper, Texas. I know it's like north, like of the McKinney world of the Metroplex. And it said, 2019 price per high school Eagles football season was big. So I didn't know this, but Children's Health is the sponsor at the stadium, which has, let me show you what it shows. It said the opening game of the opening season in 2019 began with fireworks and a 4-airplane flyover.
Oh my God.
A high school football game. A trained eagle soared over the field as some 12,000 fans filled the team's new stadium with a $53 million colossal screen, the largest video screen of any high school venue in Texas. And then the name Children Health. So this was the start
Jesus
of this
Christ.
article. And I was just like, holy smokes. We need to have a whole story about Prosper, Texas, like stadium over here. I'm like, holy smokes. I didn't know nothing about that. That is crazy.
Showing up the Allen Eagles.
I know. Come on. But go ahead. Go to your win.
My win is that Fort Worth unveiled the design plans for the Trinity River water wheel. Rock me, mama, like a water wheel. The water wheel is designed to control pollution within the Trinity River, according to the city. We haven't talked about this in a while, and so honestly, I was kind of thinking like, I don't know, maybe nothing's ever going to come of this. So I was excited to see that there's still plans moving forward with this. In collaboration with the Tarrant Regional Water District, the city is committed to bringing 2 solar-powered water wheels to the Trinity. Each one will cost just under $600K. with combined operational costs of about $50,000 annually. Like, that's nothing. A similar initiative in Baltimore found that each water wheel can remove more than 50,000 pounds of solid waste per day, equivalent to about 2.5 garbage trucks. I'm excited that this seems like it's moving forward. The plans look really high-tech and interesting. So I just wanted to highlight that the water wheel is still in motion.
Yeah, that's cool, and I love that. I think that's just like a great thing that it's just cool to see. Me and you've been doing this so long to now see like something that was talked about now actually being implemented, and it's going to be cool when it's actually completed, and we get to talk about it. So,
yeah,
cool stuff. My win is actually it's going to highlight, I think, the first ever 817 podcast get together.
Maybe.
Jimmy said he's coming. So Hotel Dryce, right, is on Mondays does like a just like a vinyl spinning, like, so they have vinyl, and they just have local Fort Worthians who are into vinyl bring their collection and curate their best like pieces that they want to curate at the bar. So Hotel Dryce, November 7th, I will be curating my vinyl collection at the place at the hotel bar on November 7th. Jimmy said he'll be there. So that means EJ and Jimmy in one place together. That's not the podcast. People don't know this, but we really don't hang out outside the podcast. We're too busy. And but we are going to be together, and this could be like our first hangout. So if you're like a legit listener of the 817 podcast and you just want to riff with us, hang out with us, buy us drinks, whatever, like we would love to see you there, and we would love to hang out. So November 7th, we're early. Mark your calendar. 817 community hanging out together, listening to some vinyl, drinking some Texas tea, calling it a day. Yeah,
it sounds great to me. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, cool. You know, the weird thing is I don't know what I've been working on this little vinyl collection because I told my wife, I'm like, one day I told Jonathan, he said happy birthday to me on my birthday in August. Like, yo, for my birthday, I want to spin vinyl.
Yeah.
All right. So I've been working on what I was going to do. What list, I have a couple of ideas of what kind of theme I will curate. But hey, Hotel Dryce, November 7th, 817 pod will be there in the flesh. Would love to see you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited.
Awesome, beautiful people. Thank you for listening to the podcast. We out. Continue to like, subscribe, share with a friend as we continue to talk about the lovely city of Fort Worth and all the things that go into it. Have a good one and talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you again next week.